Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 feels realer than my life. Alright, so here we are once again. It's been a minute. I've been grinding on the game. I've been going through life. Things have been happening. But I'm here with a reaction video to start with a different way of posting. This time, I want to organize it a little bit. But for now, we're going to react to JV's video about realism in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I specifically picked this video, actually, that came out 8 days ago, because I am going through this. I'm doing a second playthrough right now, and my second playthrough is with the Lent achievement to not kill any animals and whatnot, and not eat any meat, but I'm also role-playing it. And I'm taking clips, and I'm gonna make a video on that next week. So, until then, I want to see what he has to say. I'm genuinely interested because this is literally what I'm doing. So, what better video to see? We're at 1,300 subs already. Let's get to 1,005, baby. Hit that sub button and let's keep it going. Back to the reaction.
By any measure of success, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a massive hit. Shortly after release, it hit the top 10 best-selling single-player games of all time, joining the ranks of Skyrim and Fallout 4. Within 2 weeks...
Wait. I know it just started. I know I just paused it, but I just wanted to add to this. Months ago, I've been talking about this. I've been saying Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will be him. It will be the game, because the work ethic that I made a video on is actually shown by all the content that they post before the game, during the game, like at its release, and after the game. All the stuff they have given us, all the quality of work they've put in is so visible. And I'm not gonna lie right now, as uncorrelated this sounds, it inspires me. Like seeing not only companies like this for games, but music artists, movie, whatever it is. When you see somebody working on quality, it's visible. Shout out, take all the praise.
Copies. And what makes that
I think it's at 3 million now.
Is that
I think
this is technically an indie game. It didn't get some massive Super Bowl commercial. It's not on like Serial or anything like that. It's just very good, and people buy and play very good games. Now, I've only got about 24 hours played on this game.
Damn,
kind of
I have like 100, I think, or more.
If we're being honest at this point, I blame my crippling Marvel Rivals addiction. I just hit Grandmaster 3. Please hold your applause. But when I'm not playing that game or recording content for other videos, I am playing Kingdom Come. Every time I find a bed to save in...
By the way, I also played Marvel Rivals. Very fun, but I kind of got out of it because it's not my type of game fully. I've played a lot of Valorant, for example, but it's only fun with friends for me. At some point, it gets boring. I like games like these usually to play alone because it takes my mind off of like real life. And I know that Marvel Rivals and online games do the same, but that's kind of how I feel like. I don't know if y'all relate with that, but there's two types of players usually, the online players and the single player players. I would consider myself both because I have a lot of hours on Valorant, League of Legends, and Rocket League, but these games, Kingdom Comes and God of Wars and Skyrims and whatnot, bro, those shit get me. Red Dead Redemption and all.
This game, I find myself thinking, this might be the best thing I've played since Baldur's Gate 3. And the way I know
I haven't played
I
Baldur's
love a
Gate
game
3
is when it invades my brain. It's all I can think about when I'm not playing it. It's gotten to the point where I've started saying kurva, which if you look it up, it actually means... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I probably shouldn't say that out loud. This game really got me thinking about the state of open world games. We're in this weird spot where that new, exciting AAA game coming out, it always ends up feeling disappointing.
You never care anymore.
They don't live up to expectations. They don't build on what came before, or they change up the formula too much to where you lose your audience. So I asked myself, what is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 doing so right? And
Let's
for me,
see.
the first thought that
I'm
came
interested to
mind
see what
is
he's gonna say.
KCD 2 is what I want Bethesda games to be.
You what?
Now, before you yell at me, please don't yell at me.
I won't yell at you, but wait, hold up. Let me like analyze it before he gives the answer. Analyze it with me. To be fair though, the last good Bethesda game, like really good, from what I know, was Fallout 4, but I haven't played it. I'm not a big Fallout fan. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm more of the Elder Scrolls fan. And for me, the last great, amazing game they made was November 11, 2011. Bethesda games can't be that way because they're still running on their old engines, but also because they just haven't released other than Starfield, which was... So, Yeah, I get his point, but let's see what he says.
Here is my spectrum of open world game design. On one side, you have struggle and realism. This is where KCD 2 belongs. And then we'll put Red Dead 2 over here, even though it's not really an RPG, but just to keep KCD some company. And on the other side, you have more arcadey and approachable games. This is where I would put Fallout 4, Skyrim, and Starfield. Of course, there are exceptions, concepts like carry weight. That's a form of realism. Every single open world RPG, for the most part, uses this.
I know carry weight is a specific thing a lot of games had, but from what I know, Skyrim actually, well, not just Skyrim, but like Bethesda with their Elder Scrolls games actually shaped a lot of these new games that we have in a more of a way of concept. Like, I can't have specifics right now. I haven't done deep research in this, but off the top of my head, if I think of like, other than just carry weight, like let's say the way you do it, like the bartering system, like shops and whatnot, NPCs, pickpocketing, lockpicking, the way it works, I feel like there's a lot of influence that games like Kingdom Come Deliverance have taken from there. Not that they went and directly took it from there, but the influence started from there. Kind of like you could say Michael Jackson actually influenced a lot of the new artists we have. Like you could see some influences from The Weeknd, from Michael Jackson and whatnot. Again, I'm not a pro, relax. But I'm just saying, in that same sense, for the RPG scene, I feel like Bethesda has shaped a lot of games up to today. So I'm gonna give them credit there.
System. But for the sake of this video, I feel like these are fair labels. Now, when I think of myself as a gamer, you know, like, you know, really just like goated on the sticks, I'm pretty impatient. I look for the path of least resistance, for that instant gratification. I like a fast travel system that lets me go anywhere at any time. I generally don't want to waste my time.
Most players are that way.
Don't feel worth it. So for those reasons and many more, I'd actually put myself on the Bethesda side of the spectrum here. I actually feel like most people end up over here, whether they want to or not, because, I don't know, human nature. But every now and then, a special game comes along that turns me into an absolute masochist. I start liking the struggle. I crave it.
Not gonna lie, I felt that more with FromSoft games in a different way. But I never really did struggle games before. Even Cuphead, I only played it co-op a little bit. I didn't finish the game by myself. But Bethesda with Elden Ring and then Bloodborne was the game that actually got me into like, oh shit, this shit's hard. And like, I like it. So
the game sits me down early on and teaches me to suffer is to grow. Overcoming the obstacle is in and of itself gratifying. Yes, I will fist fight you, knowing that I'll probably end up eating dirt. Yes,
once you get the mechanics though, it's not that hard.
Even though I'm over encumbered, have low health, and will probably die and lose 30 minutes.
But yes, I understand. It's still easier than Skyrim.
That does suck. That really sucks. But in the end, KCD 2 makes it worth it. That struggle is memorable. It's a teaching moment. It's a bump in the very long and windy road that is the open world RPG.
Because it makes you take it serious, but it doesn't make it so realistic to the point where like it's really a grind. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give an example. Minecraft is not really realistic, but in Minecraft at a certain point, if you want to like advance and do more stuff, especially with like redstone, I think is what it's called. I'm not a Minecraft pro, but I've played a little bit. I've dabbled. At some point you really need to grind. Like at some point you really need to just go and mine for a while, and you need to, if you want to have a cool looking house, base, or whatnot, whatever mechanisms in your house, you need to sit there for a couple of hours and just do the thing to then have the result. But Kingdom Come Deliverance isn't really that way. It's more realistic in immersion. So it's not a simulator, but it's like influenced by a simulator. I don't know if you get that. That's how I feel about it, which is why I like it. Like, I like games that make you, back then I would watch a movie, and let's say it was one of those old school movies with kingdoms and dragons and magic and whatnot, like a Lord of the Rings type of movie. And literally what I would think about after the movie is I want to play Skyrim and kind of imitate that. Or when I played Red Dead Redemption 2, I sometimes just wanted to walk as Arthur Morgan and rob a place, just because I'm an outlaw. Forgive me for the accent, but you know what I mean, right? Like, and this is kind of what Kingdom Come gives, but in my opinion, at a higher level. Because it not only adds the vibe of like being in the world and all, but it adds the difficulty too, so that like in the beginning, if you do 1v3, unless you're really good at the game, you're probably dying. And you can't really use bandages mid-combat either to stop the bleeding. So if an enemy gets a good hit on your head and the fight persists for a while, even if you're not losing by fighting, you'll lose by bleeding out, because it wouldn't be realistic to mid-combat just bandage yourself up, so the option is not even there. At the same time, they added the belt now, the hunter's belt and whatnot, so that you can drink a potion, well, a healing potion, whatever, mid-combat. So it's like a good middle. It's not too realistic. It's not too arcadey. It's a very good middle to, one, get into that type of game, and for two, that if you already like that type of game, you can just go further. And then hardcore mode is coming out, which is going to be more for the people that know the game already and they just want it to be more challenging.
Is so good at dangling carrots.
Bro, I've yapped so
Everything
long.
I do
Holy
gives
shit.
me experience. The tiny little dopamine hit that I get when I see a skill level up in the top right corner has turned me into an addict. And
Really,
it doesn't
yeah.
happen that often. In fact, it hits just the right pace where it doesn't feel like I'm leveling up too easily, but it also feels like I put in the time to earn it. And it's not just experience
Facts.
bars and skills that do it for me. Weirdly, it's the act of taking my time. It feels like I'm rewarded
because
for
it's
that.
well
There's
made.
something to be said for savoring the activity that you're doing in this game, for watching detailed animations and concentrating at the task.
There's
at
a
hand,
reason.
finishing
Wait,
it,
I'll let
rather
him
than
finish.
racing through to the very next thing. There's something to be said for having lengthy, in-depth conversations with NPCs.
They're well written.
Asking every
I
single
agree
question that I
fully.
possibly can. My reward is really incredible voice acting and performances from the motion capture and the voice actors. It's
Bro, I don't want to spoil. I'm not going to spoil. Just in case there's people that haven't finished the game yet. But there's a moment where something sad happens, and I will not say anything about it. I'm just going to say that the emotion they tried to make me feel, I felt it. I felt the sadness. And that has not happened to me in a game since maybe 2018 with the whole God of War and Red Dead Redemption vibes. Honestly. Yeah. I haven't felt that vibe in a while. And what I was going to add to before, whenever he was talking about there's a thing to savor about alchemy and whatnot, right? What I was going to add is, it's because there's a reason why simulation games have a big audience. That doesn't mean they have the majority of people. And I wouldn't play a truck simulator ever. But I do see why people would. And what I think Kingdom Come Deliverance did so well, the realism, why it's so good, is because they took out the good parts, the very good parts that the casual player might enjoy as well, but they condensed it into small activities. So you get some of that, ooh, okay, this is what farming simulator feels like, but quick, compact, on your way out, and also optional. You don't need to do it.
It's unique characters that feel real. It's facial animations that bring true emotion. My reward for leveling isn't just horse riding experience. It's that I get to soak in this gorgeous world, this incredible map. That I get to listen to the soundtrack as my horse's feet pound on the dirt.
Hooves, not feet.
What I'm trying to say is, I don't remember the last time I felt this immersed in a video game. And I think the key part of that is the struggle. Being bound by the rules of this world, it keeps me immersed in it, which makes it all the more satisfying that I'm actually rewarded for that. A lot of the rules for Kingdom Come's world come from its grounded historical setting. The first major arc of this game is about getting into a nobleman's wedding. The problem is you're a stinky little peasant boy from a place that nobody's ever heard of. The game's codex explains how important social class was in 15th century Bohemia, so it makes perfect sense why you can't just waltz right in. You have to earn it by gaining a reputation, by talking to people and doing their quests and getting a real foothold in the community. The game also takes a lot of common sense approaches to realism. If somebody walked up to me covered in mud and blood asking me for something, I'd probably tell that guy to take a hike too. At the same time, it skips the more tedious realism choices.
Exactly, the simulator.
You have a horse that you can just whistle for and he'll come no matter where you left him. It's not like you have to keep...
Like in Red Dead Redemption, if I remember correctly, if your horse was too far, you actually couldn't get him. But I'm also going to add to this, what I believe that also helps a lot is that you see some games have the realism aspect only in the story moments. So when there's a cutscene or when there's a very planned linear part of the quest, it'll be very like realistic. So it's kind of fun. You like it, you enjoy it. Oh, it feels different. But then the moment that that's done, all of it goes away. You become a god again. You can just fast travel anywhere. You can do whatever you want. Everybody loves you. You can kill anyone you want, right? But the other way is true as well, where sometimes the game is just very realistic, very like, as he's talking about, right? Tediously, in a sense, realistic. But then the story doesn't quite match it. It's just a story, whatever. Here they do both. Again, which is why it's a good balance. In the gameplay part of the game, there's some realism aspects. There's realistic stuff. Like if you genuinely stink and you haven't washed at least in a tub, people will comment on it. If you're drunk, people will comment on it. And now, just like in Red Dead Redemption 2, you can decide to retort or to answer nicely. But at the same time, the story also... I didn't mean to hurt you, buddy. The story also kind of like does it too, where there's moments where you're locked in as like a waiter or like a worker or whatever, right? And then there's moments where it's full on action packed, let's go in, and it's like everything just remembering getting shivers, bro.
Track of them, and you don't even have to feed them. You have to worry about sleeping and eating, but the game is not like, hey, you gotta poop, time to go to the outhouse.
Yep.
Food has a freshness meter, and spoiled
Very
food
good.
can actually make you sick. But if you take it to a smokehouse, it'll last forever.
Make it
and you can
easier,
do that
balance.
instantly. It's a strange
Realistically.
sort of balancing act that Warhorse manages to nail. I'm sure feedback on the first game helped them decide like what to scrap and what to bring forward in terms of realism. But nonetheless, it's super impressive to me because I think it really works. Like I mentioned, I don't usually like a punishing game. I like the safety of my warm Bethesda blanket. I love my instant gratification. So back to my original point, why is KCD2 what I want Bethesda games to be? Say what you will about the last decade of Bethesda games, it's all fair and real, but Skyrim was a special game. It showed your little cousin
By the way, I'm growing out my hair.
more to video games than dropping enemy AC-130s inbound with his friends. You could get completely lost in these worlds, just so immersed in a fantasy setting that's so fun that it's hard to stop playing. Now, I know hating IGN is like a rite of passage on the internet, but I think the headline for IGN's review of this game is really spot on. Kingdom Come Deliverance
is his volume messed up or me?
Feels like it's picked up and run with the reactive first-person RPG torch that Bethesda left lying in the mud years ago in pursuit of a broader audience. That is exactly it. Warhorse ate Bethesda's lunch with this game. They wrote a diss track about them and then performed it at the Super Bowl.
I don't think it's a diss track. I think it's more like paying homage in a sense, but not really. It's just they saw something that's good, that's worked, and they improved it, which is what should happen, by the way. Bethesda messed up. I don't think Warhorse dogged on him. I think Warhorse just did the smart move. Bethesda started a very smart move. They started a whole fucking generation, but then they kind of like didn't learn from what other games learned from them. You know what I'm saying? It's as if I show you the right form of push-ups, and then other people see it, and they're like, oh, I have an idea. Let me do weighted push-ups, and let's get stronger. And then me, instead of going from normal push-ups to weighted push-ups, I decide to... Damn, my example sucked. Moving on.
Better this game is
you get the point.
Conveying its vision to me. The area around Trotsky Castle feels so real, and that's because it is. I didn't realize that before making this video, but somebody on Reddit did a comparison a couple days ago, and yeah, it is crazy how one-to-one the comparison is. While this is very cool, what matters to me more is how the map is used, and I absolutely love the way that Kingdom Come 2 uses space. You end up traveling back and forth between villages so much that the routes between them become familiar. The characters you meet and the places that
it's not like go get like 3 herbs and come back, and then go kill 8 wolves and come back, and then go get 5 more herbs and come back. It's not like that. The story makes sense. The reason of going to towns makes sense because realistically, there's not going to be a blacksmith in every single town, which was something that annoyed me a little bit at first. I'm not going to lie, but I ended up liking it more because it made me go back to the town, because why would there be a blacksmith right beside where there's a blacksmith, and then right beside where there's another blacksmith, and then just blacksmiths everywhere? In Gutenberg, there's a lot of blacksmiths, but that makes sense. It's a huge city. So logically and gameplay wise, balance.
Visit they don't become irrelevant after you've finished up a quest line or anything like that. For example, the herb woman Bojena, she appears multiple times throughout this game.
Yes.
Where I was like, oh yeah, I know you. She knows how to heal people, and the community around her knows that and goes to her, and so she continues to be relevant. This game treats its NPCs like they're people who exist in a community and depend on each other. It's actually curious about their background.
I just did this quest.
I just did this quest. Interact together. And
it's a beautiful
I
quest.
Think so many NPCs and RPGs like this feel siloed and sort of exist as a means to an end. Not this game, and I think that's such a unique thing for.
If somebody ever talks to me about KCD2 in, let's say, 3 years from now, and they say, hey, do you remember the Nomads and their quest they had? I will say yes, because it was a good quest, a memorable quest. I might not remember everything, my memory's ass, but I'll remember around what it's about, that there was the daughter that was in a cave with her lover, but at the same time, the family beat up the lover, but she's trying to save him, and then she's trying to convince her dad to come, and all of that. I'll remember those. And how I made my dog track her because I had him use his scent. Just beautiful, but it's amazing.
Game to pull off like this one does. Another thing that makes you revisit locations is the game's day-night cycle. It's more dangerous to travel at night. Like, I feel like you get
can't see shit
more often. So it makes sense to find a bed to save and wait it out pretty frequently. And that forces you to kind of stop what you're doing and reevaluate and find a bed. This usually means going to the nearest village or maybe somewhere on the way to where you want to go and paying for room and board. Normally, this would kind of be annoying to me, sort of an unnecessary obstacle, but it makes villages you went to like 10 hours of gameplay ago, it makes them relevant again. Places have a purpose.
You don't just forget them.
Being somewhere that quest givers stand around and give you missions. Like
that was so well
you're
said.
Not completing a town and then never going to it again, or completing an area. Nothing feels like thrown away or tossed out or used up. And what helps this feeling is the size of the world. Compared to most open world games these days, the Trotsky map isn't really very big.
No,
there's a second
but it's
map in
beautifully sized.
Bigger, but the smaller scope makes it easier for me to remember all of the characters that I've
He hasn't even been in the other map.
And the
he
villages
still has so much to see.
It's a less is more approach that I think really works thanks to the depth of this.
I mean, this is 8 days ago, so Jay, if you've been there, bro, I'm expecting another video exactly like this, but why Gutenberg as a city is so good.
Game in this world. Warhorse prides themselves on making a historically realistic combat system in these games. But I'll be honest, you guys, I really struggled in the first game. It made me feel like I was using a left-handed controller. I couldn't even block properly. So I got frustrated and never bothered learning it or really even playing the first game that much. It became a barrier for entry for
it wasn't that bad.
Like myself.
I might be biased,
for me,
but it wasn't that bad.
Simplify things this time around. They reduced the number of directions that you can attack from.
They did.
They made it to where blocking doesn't require precise timing, and weapons only have one attack button instead of 2. This allows even smooth-brain casuals like myself to learn the system.
I do agree that that's better.
A couple of sword combos and the Master Strike, which is basically like a perfect parry, but combining all of these moves
But the Master Strike is harder though. Like it or not, as easy as it could be for you or me or whatever, some people, mostly it's harder because now you do have to look at where he's going to attack from and then not block, but attack from the opposite direction. And it's only with a sword. Whereas in the first game on PC, it was just a Q button. I could have anything in my hands. As long as he strikes me and when the shield is green, I just press Q. Pretty easy.
Is really satisfying, especially knowing that I used to suck. And what's so great about this combat system is it doesn't compromise the overall vision. Like, combat, I think, is still hard. You will get crushed by a group of bandits if you're not being careful. God forbid you're not wearing a helmet and you get hit in the head, you're gonna go down like a sack of potatoes. So this game manages to be more accessible while still sticking to its guns with realism. It walks a fine line, and it manages to nail it for me. KCD2 also maintains balance when it comes to choice and consequence. It's more of a Witcher type RPG, I would say, where you have a predefined character with Henry and Skalitz.
I like
that. You can
that.
Deceive, you can lie, you can murder,
so
you can
many
steal.
options.
The bailiff will not hesitate to lock you up if you break the law. But you're still Henry, right? you're just a more evil version of him. Sometimes this just doesn't work in games for me, like when you can be cartoonishly evil. That's not the case with KCD2. Like, you can't become Jack the Ripper levels of evil in the 1400s. I guess what I'm trying to say is the choices that you make, they still make sense within the context of the grounded historical setting. And so do the consequences for your actions if you do something wrong. It all comes back to being bound by the rules of this world. I can totally believe that Henry gets locked up in a pillory and pelted with vegetables by the nearby settlers because he got in a drunken...
They give you enough freedom to feel free, but they don't give you enough freedom to break the logic of the game. Balance.
Tavern brawl. That's the kind of thing that immerses me in the setting. Speaking of getting in fights, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has a certain, what I would call, male camaraderie theme to it. It's hard for me to describe without sounding like some dumb culture warrior. What I want to say is this game projects the male fantasy, but not in a negative way. In fact, quite the opposite. Playing as Henry feels like going out in the town with your boys and getting into some shenanigans. You know, some light, low-stakes hijinks that doesn't hurt anyone, but is nonetheless fun.
Well, he hasn't seen the second part of the game yet.
Godwin, and you end up getting a drink with him, and then...
It feels like that in the first 20 hours. I feel like later on it becomes a lot more serious, but it's fine. He's only played the first part.
People, you go up and ring this bell and wake up everyone in town.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Throw up off the top.
That was one of the best quests
and then
in
at
the whole
end of the night, you end up bringing girls home. It's just so funny. It brings a level of levity and good vibes
drunk
to a video game that I don't expect.
I stuttered. I'm gonna stop talking.
This game has you taking a bath in a lake. Suddenly, Lord Hans hears the sounds of girls' voices, and of course, he wants to go and investigate.
She gets dark.
Act like I'm ancient or something. I mean, I'm 30, but I remember that feeling. That sort of coming of age, young at heart, like, what do we have to lose emotion? Kingdom Come taps into that so well, and it very much could have backfired.
Well, and then it really quickly shows what they have to lose.
I could see so many think pieces about how juvenile this game is, but you don't, because it's so genuine and it speaks to something that's real.
I like that. I like how he worded that. It's so genuine. It's true. Like, it's true that it's so genuine. Because it sticks to itself. It sticks to how it really is. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But that's fine. It's not trying to get everyone. But by doing so, more people like it. Because more people actually connect with the game.
The great writing and great
including me, obviously.
It all comes together so fantastically. It feels like a genuine representation of what it's like to be young and reckless and a little bit stupid. When I think of similar
I'm
examples
young
of this
and wild
in games,
and free.
The only example I can come up with is Red Dead 2. You know, that famous mission where you take Lenny out for a drink and you get so blasted.
And bro, Sir Toby did tell me
you
some inspirations and whatnot, so it makes sense.
Bodies. You end up in a drunken fight.
Bro, getting inspired from the greats is...
in the dirt, in the mud.
Why not?
And you wake up the next morning being like, what the hell happened? Both of these games just show the feeling of guys being guys, you know, like bros being bros. Henry of Skalitz embodies this feeling.
Yeah, this is
so
when shit goes south.
I think it's one of the very underrated parts of this franchise.
Wait, no, it already went south.
Obviously, I haven't played
it already
that
was
much.
bad.
I haven't even gotten to the wedding yet, but I can already tell that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2
Bro,
will
it's gonna
be
only
Game
pick
of
up
the
from
Year
here, buddy.
For me, it's simply that good. It does
yes,
so many things
I've been
look
saying
for
it,
in a
bro.
game, while also sticking to its vision and convincing me, like, no, this is right. This,
look, I don't know how Monster Hunter is gonna be, Ghost of Yote when it comes out. There's gonna be a lot of games that are gonna come out this year, right? I don't know how they're gonna be, but if GTA 6 does not come out in 2025, which, by the way, I'm excited for GTA 6. Just to put it out there, I'm gonna play it. But if it doesn't come out, y'all, bro, I'm telling y'all, bro, it's gonna happen. All that controversy, all the... Gonna be great.
The way it should be. It's an incredible
Plus
game.
with the DLCs,
Yeah,
I don't know if DLCs count.
Some thoughts with you guys.
But great video, man. I really liked it. Bro, like, I gave all my... Bro, this reaction took me how long now? I'm like, damn, I've been recording for like over 30 minutes now. Regardless, this was very fun. So I'm straight up playing the game right now by myself in this room, lights turned off, just taking clips for myself. And next week, I want to drop my own kind of review, but not really a full game review, more like what I feel about the roleplay aspect of the game. So, hey guys, Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this, show me some likes. Recommend me other videos you want me to react to if you find any good ones. And it doesn't just have to be KCD related as well. It could be about other games. And if I'm interested, I will. We're almost to 1,500 subs, guys. Let's keep it going. And on that note, Kenats out. Peace.